the sea urchins. From the Echinosaurus to the Galaritas. Galaritas are these. These are the regular sea urchins from the Baltic Sea. And this is one of the bigger examples that I own. This one is from Höckholz, from the Baltic Sea. Incomplete, but one of the biggest I have. I have a few layers of these, from just their shell imprints to still in matrix, and sometimes like the nice shell preservation. A box full of them, of the Steinkerns, as they are called in German. And more sea urchins down here, the imprint of a crown sea urchin. Another larger chunk of a crown sea urchin that was acid prepared. An unidentified possible sea urchin. A bit of the other sea urchin. Some prepared ammonites from the genome Pleuroceras. A smaller prepared ammonite from the Pleuroceras genome, and another one. Inside of this box is like a brachypod or coral fossil, a piece of crab claw, and possibly a fish scale of some sort. Inside of this box are corals, sea lily stems, some gastropod fossils like this one. Overall, pretty much a wild mix, like small Ottocera fossils. And yeah, mostly coral pieces that I kept separated from the rest. Some small brachiopods that were exceptionally well preserved. But yeah, a lot of these wonderful pieces of sea urchins. And most of these fossils are all from the Baltic Sea. That's like my main collecting place. Now moving on to the main collection part, starting at the top with most of the shells that I have duplicated, duplicates of an ammonite replication that I made out of clay when I was bored. A lot of brachiopods on the very right. On the level below, these are not actually ammonites. These are Ceratites, most likely Ceratites nodusas, like shown on this label. These were found on a field, and yeah, near the Harz complex in Germany. This here is one of the larger coral pieces that I have, where you can still see all the polyps kind of preserved. These here are the majority of Ottoceras and other cephalopods that I have, like a possible nautiloid and another possible candidate for nautiloid. All of these were basically found at the Baltic Sea. This one was bored. This is a larger brachiopod that I have that still needs to be finished with the preparation. Here are more shells. For example, this one was a freshwater climber as far as I know. And that one was found at the Baltic Sea as well. This is a shell fossil found on a field locally a couple years back, not by me but by my father. These are clams, possibly fossil, not too sure, but these were found at the Rhine. And the level below, there's usually this one would be glued to this box, as this is the oyster container for all the oysters that I find at the Baltic Sea. These usually are of the genus Pycnodonte, and most of these are from either Rerik, from the Baltic Sea, Höckholz, or Meschendorf. And then here are some fossils that I bought from a museum from the store, also known as the Geotanium. I will link the location down. And this is like a tusk shell, some call it. This one I found at the Rhine. Yeah, it's clogged by a sand grain. This is a piece of a coral, most likely from Cystophilium. And yeah, these three flint pieces are not confirmed, but there are hints that they are indeed from the Stone Age. Here is a piece of a small baculite that I found at the Baltic Sea. This is a glass filled with sponges, like circular sponges. I'm not right now sure what the Latin name was. These are some of the sea urchin spines I found. A bit of amber. Bison teeth found at the Rhine. A horse tooth found at the Rhine. Some whale and possibly fish bone. The whale bone was found at the Rhine and the fish bone at the Baltic Sea. This fish fossil was bought at the Museum Geotanium as well. A few glasses of belemnites and some of the more interesting belemnites displayed separately. Some ammonites bought as well. And the layer below is mainly my wood display, as well as from another fossil collector from New Zealand known as Mamlambo Fossils. The card game that he sent me over. The large piece of wood I had to repair. This is a piece from a field here locally near Fehlen, I think was the city called. Then this was a pyritized piece of wood. It's completely solid pyrite, and it is heavy. Like, it's heavier than this piece, for example. And here is a bit of coal as well, as it does contain pieces of remains from trees. This is a gastropod I found and prepared. Here are pieces of trilobites that I found at the Baltic Sea. This one could have been complete, but it shattered because of how the matrix is built. It's rather crystalline and way too hard for the pneumatic pen that I own. Here's a small, or rather tiny, cephalon from a trilobite. So is this one. This is also a cephalon. Like, only a partial one, but still. Here's also a possible partial cephalon. Here was a most likely complete cephalon, but it was also preserved in the same matrix that did not preserve too well. This is the other side of it. And this was the biggest cephalon that I had from that piece. The eyes came out quite nicely, but it's so fragile and baked inside and has a lot of brachiopods on the sides of it that I chose not to prepare it any further. This is a pygidium of a trilobite that I found at the Baltic Sea. This is a small trilobite that I bought that was curled up. Here are even more trilobite pygidiums. Some are bigger than others. And this is one that would have been really large, but it's incomplete. This is, some of you already know them as In German they are called Moostierchen, but like they are one of the colony animals that used to grow a lot in the ocean. This is like my box of shark teeth. The very right one I bought, the middle one I found at the Baltic Sea, and those small dots are pieces that are extracted from sandstone that were also originally from teeth. These few pieces of matrix I bought because of the shark teeth that it contained. Like that's the shark tooth right there. I assume this might be a fossil pearl of some sort, or a sponge that got filled in with chalcedony. And on the layer below, there is a lot of the fossils that I found in the hearts, in a piece of matrix that was coal-like, and I got pieces of horsetail out of them, and some more three-dimensional than others, some even with original texture. These pieces are from an old mine that was called Steinbruch am Hainholz, as far as I remember. That's one of the repaired fossils that I had from it. And these are all either matrix that contain fossils, like sea lily stems. And this was a coral found out of Flint on a field as well. And that plate was a gift to me by my parents. So the same goes to some of these ammonites, which were prepared then by me, either that or found like this on a field. This is a fossil fern that I found on a construction site. And this is a sponge that's, or coral I should say, that's not preserved as pyrite, but as a manganese nodule that falls apart under oxygen and water exposure as it oxidizes quickly. Down here are more of the shells that still need preparation, and that I probably can do once I have the sandblaster ready. Same goes to this large piece of a trilobite imprints from this large one. And I have a few more fossils like corals that I'll get to now. And this is the box that contains a lot of the corals that I have and sponges. And this contains the rougher, less defined Orthoceras fossils. And I also have a hard sea urchin that I still need to fix or fully prepare and polish. This is the one. It's not in the greatest shape, but it has almost a complete shell. And I also have some other trilobite pygidiums, like this one imprint, for example, from this bit. This is the original shell still inside. And this would have been a cephalon, but it's worn quite badly and not in the greatest shape. And that's pretty much most of the extent. I do still have some minerals and underneath some more pieces of wood, but most of these are not fully fossilized, but rather replaced or filled with iron. And that's pretty much it to its current extent.